I am standing here in Baden, Pennsylvania. This is a not, I would say, typical historical site for us for sure, but something we're definitely used to seeing here in Western Pennsylvania. The modern world encroaches on a lot of our historical interpretation. I am at the site of Legionville, and you can see that by the sign in front of me. Legionville was actually a very special place in American history. It is the site of the United States Army's very first basic training ground in its existence. So for some background on Legionville, and I'll give you a little bit of a view here. Again, not exactly Gettysburg. Legionville is going to be established in the summer of 1792 along the Ohio River by General Mad Anthony Wayne. And he's going to establish this camp to train what's an elite strike force really in American history called the Legion of the United States. The Legion of the United States included specially utilized trains of heavy infantry and light infantry, as well as artillery and cavalry. And this was being created to take on the Northwestern Confederacy of Native Nations near what is today Toledo, Ohio. The war was going to be known as the Northwestern Indian War, or the Northwest Indian War. And what it was again, after the Revolution, a pan-Indian confederacy was formed to resist the expansion of the new United States of America. So, as we'll see from the late 1780s into 1791 and 1792, the warriors of men like the Miami Chief Little Turtle and the Shawnee Blue Jacket were really chalking up a number of victories against the United States of America. And after the Revolution and the success of it, it was quite embarrassing. So Mad Anthony Wayne, a great hero of the Revolution, decided to take his forces to the city of Pittsburgh, which was on the Ohio River, effectively the capital of the American West, as I like to call it, and train them there. But the problem he found was Pittsburgh was a rough kind of Wild West place. It had a lot of drinking and carousing, and not a great ideal spot for training young men. So Anthony Wayne moved his force about 18 miles north of Pittsburgh, and he settled them here in what he called Legionville. And again, he trained them really from November of 1792 to April of 1793, and he taught them how to fight. Included in the men here were, of course, Meriwether Lewis, very famously, and some other people that would go on to be major contributors to American history. William Henry Harrison, future president of the United States and hero of the Battle of Tippecanoe, was trained here as well. So it's a great spot, it's a critical spot, but as you can see, it's a very modern spot. You can't tell by looking, but just behind these trees sits the Ohio River. And after a year and a half of training, Anthony Wayne took his legion, loaded them onto barges, and sent them down the Ohio River to Cincinnati, what would become Cincinnati and Fort Washington. From Fort Washington, he marched his way northward until ultimately colliding with the Northwest Indian Confederacy's warriors outside of Toledo, Ohio, at the Battle of Fallen Timbers in 1794. It was a major battle. It lasted less than an hour, but Wayne's Legion proved to be supreme that day. The battle took place on a battlefield with scattered trees from a recent storm or tornado, so they called it the Battle of Fallen Timbers. And this really was the last stand of the native peoples here in the region of the Ohio country. Because as a result of that defeat, we'd seen elderly native sachems sign the Treaty of Greenville, 1795, which forcibly relocated all of their people from the Ohio River Valley, from the Ohio country, into places like Indiana Territory and the Illinois country. And that went into effect in 1796. So as of 1796, you see communities like this one explode in popularity, explode in growth, because native peoples were forcibly moved from this region as political refugees. And that's what leads to a lot of the, again, explosion of settlement here in Western Pennsylvania. But as I mentioned, Legionville, America's very first basic training ground for the United States Army, a critical point that is really sorely lacking in interpretation. So hopefully this video finds you well. All right, guys, we'll see you again next time.